Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. We are going to wait here while we have a few other folks join us. This is our Friends and Family webinar for Tuesday. The week is going by so quickly, I think it's already Thursday, but we're really glad to have you here. We'll just take another minute or two while folks are joining us so that they can all give themselves some time to see what we're doing. Well, again, welcome to everyone here today. We are a small but mighty group for this afternoon's webinar. My name is Kathy Hawkins. I'm the engagement coordinator, and I'm just delighted to be having anybody here joining us, something that's really near and dear to our hearts. I'm going to go ahead and introduce our wonderful guest and host this morning of this afternoon's group. And I'm having trouble pulling up my screen, so I'm going to be winging it a little bit. Andrew Morton is a certified TimeSlips trainer and the project manager for our Friends and Family and Imagination Kits. He is a celebrated theater maker and has been doing a lot to get these programs out into the hands of the people who need them so much. So Andrew, without further ado, I'm going to turn this over to you.
Thank you so much, Kathy, and thank you everyone for joining us today. As Kathy said, we have a small group today. Maybe we'll have a few more friends joining us as we continue, but very grateful for those of you that are joining us today, and hope that you'll enjoy our presentation and the conversation that we're going to have. My colleague already put a little note in the chat that today's presentation is being live captioned. So if you'd like to access the captions, you can visit the link that is in the chat already. And thank you, Kathy, too, for that lovely introduction. As you heard, my name is Andrew, and I'm a project manager with TimeSlips. I'm based in Detroit, Michigan, and very excited to be with you today, along with some special guests who you'll be introduced to a little bit later on in the webinar. But today's focus is going to be on our friends and family resources. So I'm going to give you a little bit of an update on the the history of these resources, how and why they were developed, what is available as part of those resources, how you can access them, and then during the last part of today's webinar, you'll be hearing a few examples of how some folks in our Creative Care Network have been accessing and using those resources as part of the work that they do. So we're going to start things off like we often do at a TimeSlips event or webinar with a beautiful question. So the beautiful question that's on the screen right now is thematically linked, right, today, talking about our friends and family resources. The question is, what makes a good friend? So if you are new to TimeSlips and you've never heard of a beautiful question before, beautiful question is one of our kind of staple creative engagement tools. It's an open-ended question, so it can be answered however you want. There's no right or wrong answer. So if you have a response to the question, what makes someone a good friend, feel free to add it in the chat. And if you want to let us know where you're joining us from too, that would be great. Thank you, Kathy, for dropping the question in the chat too. Panelists and TimeSlips friends too, you're invited to respond as well. Thank you, Sam, a good listener, someone who you can laugh with. Sam's joining us from Philadelphia today. Thanks, Sam. Lizzie said loyalty. Joining from not too far away from me, Ann Arbor, just up the road. And Kathy from Cleveland, the Clee, says a good friend is someone who knows you and loves your quirks. Nefeli, joining from DC, said open-hearted listening, fun, and kindness. Thank you so much. I know we just have one more person that just joined us. So welcome, David, to our webinar today. We'll be talking about our TimeSlips friends and family resources. You joined us at the perfect moment. We're just responding to the beautiful question that's on the screen. What makes someone a good friend? If you'd like to share a response to that question in the chat and let us know where you're joining from, you can do so. While maybe you're waiting for that, I would add to this that I think what makes someone a good friend is the kind of person that you can maybe go a long time not talking to or not seeing them, but then as soon as you do see them or talk to them on the phone, it feels like you're just kind of picking up from where you left off. I grew up in the UK and moved to the States when I was a teenager. So I still have a few friends that I'm in touch with in the UK, and it's nice when I don't get to see them often, you know, but when I do speak to them or or FaceTime, it feels like no time has passed. So thank you for all your great responses. And moving on, Dave's joining us from Milwaukee. I believe everyone here probably has heard of TimeSlips before, but just in case you haven't, TimeSlips is an international nonprofit, a network of caregivers and artists committed to bringing joy and meaning to late life through creative engagement. And through using our creative engagement techniques, we encourage folks to focus on their imagination and use imagination as a way to connect rather than shared memories and experiences. And by doing so, we like to open storytelling to everybody by replacing that pressure to remember with the freedom to imagine. And Sam just put a comment in the chat too, that if you have any questions during the presentation today, we will have a Q&A period at the end. So feel free to drop questions in the chat at any moment, and we'll have plenty of time to respond to them at the end of the day. So we are here today to remind folks or let you know about our friends and family resources and how you can use those as part of the work you're doing. Or if you are new to TimeTips and are interested in learning more about these resources, today you'll get a little bit of an opportunity to hear some examples of how you can use them. So I mentioned that I'm based in Detroit, Michigan, and I'm pleased to say I've been working with TimeTips since late 2018. And I was hired specifically to help with the development of these resources. And it was an incredible and sort of joyful experience to create these wonderful resources with caregivers and their families right here in Southeast Michigan. This was a grant-funded project by the Ralph C. Wilson Jr. Foundation, and we had many incredible partners on the ground, including the Alzheimer's Association Greater Michigan chapter, friends of ours at Wayne State University's Institute of Gerontology, and other friends of ours at a wonderful design creative agency called Lafayette American. So if you're a fan of like all the kind of branding and design elements at TimeSlips, we can thank our friends at Lafayette American for helping us with all of that. So we did what is often called a human-centered design process when creating the Friends and Family resources, which meant that at really every stage of the development, we were including caregivers, people living with dementia and their caregivers in focus groups, and sort of as the resources were developed and created, we sort of test them out at different stages with the goal in mind to create resources and products that would really serve the needs of caregivers, people living with dementia or other cognitive impairments. And we also wanted to create resources that not only were practical and sort of helpful with their content, but also beautifully designed and enjoyable to look at, which again is something that we're very proud of with these resources, particularly our imagination kit, which you'll hear about in a little in our webinar, is a great example of that. So now that the resources are available and accessible on our website, there's three kind of core components to the larger Friends and Family resources. That includes a free Friends and Family online training. So some of you may have gone through or be familiar with our certification process where you can become a TimeTips certified facilitator. That's a great option for somebody who's maybe working in a professional care setting, or maybe is a home caregiver but would like to get a little bit more sort of experience and support in how to use TimeSlips as part of their caregiving. But for those people that maybe don't want to go the full certification route, but would like to learn a little bit more how to use TimeSlips as a family caregiver or as maybe part of their work, the free Friends and Family training is a wonderful way to do that. It is only about 45 minutes long, so you can do it in under an hour. That was one of the things that we heard from caregivers in the sort of design process, was that obviously if you're caring for a loved one at home, you very rarely have time to to give yourself a break, right? Or to do something to take care of yourself. And so to do anything else in terms of like education or training is a real luxury. So we wanted to create the training that we felt we hoped would be accessible and just short enough that we could share the basics of how to use TimeTips creative engagement techniques at home, and it serves as a wonderful kind of introduction to our techniques. So the second part of the resources is the kind of little bit more maybe old-fashioned or in-person version, which is resources that host a TimeSlips engagement party. We'll talk about that in a little moment. And then last of all is the Creative Care Imagination Kit, which is a physical resource that includes all you need to do a TimeSlips session wherever you are. You'll get to hear a little bit more about that in a moment too. But to give you a little bit more context again on each of those resources, again, the Friends and Family online training is that free online training It's a wonderful introduction to creative engagement. It covers some of the same kind of core concepts that our larger training options do, but is designed especially for the family caregiver or a friend of someone that may be living with memory loss or other cognitive impairments. While TimeSlips as an organization historically sort of began creating resources and supporting people living with dementia, we find now that sort of 25 years into our work, that our creative engagement techniques can really be used in many different contexts. So if you're joining us today and you don't maybe work with or have a loved one that's living with dementia, that's fine. You might still be able to use a lot of our resources in many different ways. I sometimes describe the online training as like TimeTips 101. It gives you like the basic sort of information on how you can do creative engagements with a loved one at home or with in a kind of group setting as well. Once again, it takes about 45 minutes to complete and is accessible on our website, timeslips.org. And I'll talk a little bit more about how specifically you can access that training in a moment. For those people that might like something a little bit more in person, when we were designing these resources way back when, before COVID times, it was always our plan to encourage people to have joyful gatherings together in their homes, outdoors, wherever you want to have a party, and really sort of think about the using our resources and introducing to people to our creative engagement techniques as being a party. We know from working and speaking to caregivers of people living with dementia and other cognitive impairments, so often that time of life is sort of associated with loss, like what we've lost, what we're no longer able to do. And we wanted to encourage people to bring a little bit of joy and a party sort of back into the lives of all the adults that we're caring for, living with. And so we very intentionally called this an engagement party. It's a play on that word, obviously. No one's getting engaged, or maybe they will, I don't know. That would be a great success story for our parties, I think. But an engagement party is an informal gathering for anyone who wants to learn TimeSlips evidence-based techniques for engaging somebody with memory loss or perhaps not. We provide all the resources you need, instruction guides, etc., on our website. And so this is pretty much one of those things where you can access our resource and kind of choose your own adventure with your engagement party. You can have a theme if you would like. You can invite people to dress up, bring food, drinks, whatever you want to kind of make it a party. And we definitely have been sort of trying to promote this and encourage people to sort of think about using this resource as a way to maybe joyfully invite people that maybe have unwillingly or perhaps willingly, like maybe given some distance from somebody maybe living with dementia because they're not sure what to do or say to that person anymore. And we know that for many people in many family situations, the burden of care might fall on one person in particular, and that can be a real struggle. So we encourage folks to try and think about using that kind of approach of encouraging like our village, right? So to come and learn what we can all do to provide care and support to people in our family, in our communities who might be living with differences. So again, we'll look at the resources a little bit more specifically about how you can use engagement parties in a moment. And you'll also get to hear in a moment from a member of our Creative Care Network who has been leading some in-person engagement parties recently. To give you a little bit of a glimpse of the resources that are on our website, there are two main sort of PDF documents that you can download and access and use whatever you want. One is a guest handout that was created for you to print out and give to your guests at your engagement party. So it's a little bit of a kind of take-home gift where they can follow along and do some of the creative engagement exercises as you facilitate them. But it's also that kind of take-home resource that they can refer to in the future if they want to implement TimeTips themselves. For anyone who might be really excited or interested in hosting an engagement party, but maybe feeling like you're not so confident in doing that, or maybe like you feel a little bit nervous about being the kind of party host or facilitator, the other document that we created is the engagement party host guide. So that's a document that you can see on the screen where it has this sort of like little cream rectangle at the side. So you see everything that your guests see in their handout, but you also get some helpful little tips and talking points of like what to do or say as you're facilitating each moment. While the engagement party has a sort of, fairly straightforward kind of order or outline, you are welcome to adapt this material and use it as you see fit. There may be some content that you think might not be as necessary to share with some people. But again, we want people to sort of access these resources and use them in a way that they feel is best. So you get your host guide, the participant guide as well. There's also a couple other resources if you want to send out invitations. We have some sort of samples that you can use for those as well. Again, all of these, like the online training, is free to access on our website. We'll talk about that and give you a little bit more information on how to access those in a moment. Finally, in the Friends and Family resources is the Creative Care Imagination Kit. So this is the TimeSlips in a box. Essentially, this is one of the resources that, again, we created in collaboration with family caregivers here at Southeast Michigan. And for anyone who maybe has never heard of TimeSlips, the Creative Care Imagination Kit is a great introduction to what we do. It has instructions and tips on how to facilitate a kind of classic TimeSlips creative storytelling session. It has a keepsake journal that you can use to create stories, make notes of fun, moving, insightful conversations that you might have together. And then there are prompts. There are 15 story prompt cards with images that you can use to facilitate a story, and 15 beautiful question and thoughtful action cards. So the beautiful question that we asked at the beginning of our webinar today, what makes a good friend, is a great example of a beautiful question. The thoughtful actions are kind of linked suggestions of creative activities that you could do together to kind of continue that conversation. So those of you familiar with beautiful questions will know that that's often a great introduction to start kind of a creative engagement conversation with somebody. But for people that maybe would like to take things a little bit further, the thoughtful actions give you some suggestions of visual art projects you could do, brief sort of gentle movement exercises. We try to incorporate a lot of different sort of mediums and styles, so that hopefully there's something in those actions that suits everybody. The Imagination Kit is the one aspect of our Friends and Family resources that is not entirely free, but we worked very hard with our designers and publisher to make it affordable for everybody. So it retails at $39.99, but you'll often find the kit is available at a discount price. If you're a savvy shopper and shop around on different online retailers, you can find the kit. I've seen it listed for anywhere from kind of $25 to around just over $30. And for that price, you get quite a lot. Again, you get all the information, all the contents that are included on the screen here. But more importantly, the kit can be used to create some of those meaningful moments and perhaps create new memories with a loved one to treasure for a long time. The kit is also a great resource to use for intergenerational relationships, and that's something that you'll get to hear about a little bit more in a moment. And there is a link in the chat now if you would like to learn more about how to order a specific copy of the kit for yourself. But we also have deals with a supplier that if anybody watching today is interested in doing kind of a bulk order for a care community that perhaps you're connected to, let us know, and we can definitely put you in touch with our friends at BookPal, who can provide some really good deals on bulk orders. And Kathy says in the comments there, she loves using the Imagination Kit with cousins and get together online who are across the country. See one great example there of how you can use the kits over virtual engagement sessions as well. So thank you, Kathy. The kit too, again, can be used in many different contexts. To give you a little bit of a sense of how it's been used since it was released about a year ago today, on the screen in front of you now is a photograph of a memory cafe event in Saline, Michigan, that I attended last summer. This was at a short period last year where the weather was beautiful and people were able to kind of gather outside and gather together for the first time. And what you see here is the old gentleman there with his granddaughter who would attend the memory cafe together. If you're not familiar with memory cafes, they're a wonderful resource, and quite likely there'll be one kind of in your community. And it's an opportunity for people living with dementia and their caregivers and family members to kind of come together and have a kind of social time and gathering. But often many memory cafes will use that opportunity to kind of provide resources and supports to those attendees. And so in this particular event, I was able to take copies of the kit and we were able to do a little TimeSlips demonstration. And it was really wonderful to kind of see the caregiver kind of partners at their tables spread out on a beautiful early summer day, kind of using our beautiful question cards and image cards to have some creative conversations together. The card is a little blurry in that photograph, I know, but it says, "How does music make you feel?" which is another example of the kind of beautiful questions that are included in the kit. So in terms of how you can access the free resources of the Friends and Family resources, the online training and the engagement party resources. So those are available to access on our website at any time for free, but to do so, you do need to have a free membership. Some of you may know that TimeSlips recently switched to a new membership model. So there are various different levels that you can join if you're interested to be a member of our network. But because we still want to make sure that many of our resources, particularly those designed for family caregivers, are entirely free, we want to make sure that people still know how to access those. So for the online training, for the engagement party resources, if you're interested in accessing them and using them as part of your work or caregiving, all you need to do is sign up for a basic membership on our website, which is free. In addition to getting the online training and engagement party, and you can watch that online training too as many times as you would like, there's no sort of limit on that. There's many other kind of benefits and sort of resources that you can get as well. So the basic membership is great for, again, friends and family members, caregivers, care partners who are maybe looking for a little bit more additional support in their walk with somebody living with dementia. Again, it includes that access to our select friends and family resources, the online training and engagement party, but you also get access to a supportive network of regular gatherings for sharing. So today's webinar is kind of one example of those. Over the last sort of year and a half now, we've been doing monthly friends and family gatherings, which are very informal Zoom meetings where people as part of the TimeSlips network all over the world can kind of come, learn a little bit more about different ways people are using our resources, but also it's a kind of great informal way to kind of share and learn from one another. So these usually happen around the second Thursday of every month. And if you're interested in learning more about those two, we have a TimeSlips Friends and Family Facebook group as well that you can join for free and get kind of updates on when those gatherings are happening. In addition to those benefits, the basic membership level also gives you a monthly email newsletter with other updates about TimeSlips and the work we're doing in the field. Again, you get access to those friends and family resources. You'll also get access to past webinars like this one. So we're recording this webinar today, so some content like this will be available to kind of go back and watch on our website at future dates. You also get access to some of the benefits of our Creativity Center, which can provide you a lot of inspiration to do creative storytelling sessions. So for example, anybody who's using TimeSlips all over the world can post some of the stories that they've created with all the adults to our website. So you can go onto our website and read all of the stories that people have posted. And there's some really beautiful, funny, humorous, moving and touching stories on there. So it's a great example of the kind of impact of our work. But you can also get access to select prompts. So while the Imagination Kit gives you some kind of prompts that you can use for a creative storytelling session, the Creativity Center also has prompts that you can print off and use maybe for a larger group setting. But the Creativity Center is also a great way to kind of get inspiration for the types of prompts that can be used in a TimeSlips creative storytelling session. So again, some of the other benefits you get with that basic, completely free membership. When we were having conversations about the sort of switching to this membership model, the team were all very excited about keeping some of our content available for free, because we know that for many folks in our network, caregivers, family caregivers who rely kind of on our resources to bring a little bit of creativity and joy into their care relationships, to take away some of that free access would be a real shame. So we definitely wanted to make sure that people could still access some of that content for free. We know that for some folks, getting the membership, sort of signing up for the membership online may be a little bit tricky. So if anyone that is interested in that, has questions, or would like a little bit of support to walk you through that, we can definitely do that to get you in our system and grant you access to those resources. For anyone that might like a little bit more, there are other membership options available to individual caregivers and individual artists, facilitators, etc. So that is our all access membership. I'm not going to spend too long talking about that today, but just putting it out there in case anybody is interested in that. So the individual all access membership is $350 for new members, and that $350 gives you access to our full online training and certification suite. So you get to go through 6 online modules and be paired with a TimeSlips certified trainer to help you become a certified facilitator. And that is maybe something that for folks that maybe want to take their TimeSlips work to the next level, maybe are doing regular creative engagement sessions with a care community, or maybe doing it as part of their kind of professional work. this might be a better option for you. So it's a great opportunity to have a little bit more additional access to TimeSlips and to have that support from and coaching from a TimeSlips certified trainer. I myself am a certified trainer along with my colleagues Kathy and Sam that are on the webinar today, and I can tell you from our point of view too, it's really nice to be kind of working with so many talented and inspiring people all over the globe. We recently certified our first certified facilitator in Ethiopia, making them the first TimeTips certified facilitator on the African continent. So our wide is very far. Our impact rather is very far. And again, this all access membership might be a better fit for those of you that want to take TimeTips to that next level. While that $350 gives you the certification training for that first year, to continue that all access membership after that first year, there's a $90 renewal fee. And if you want to know a little bit more about the benefits of that membership level, there's a link in the chat there too that you can follow to learn more. But now I would like to invite a couple of folks to join me on screen to tell you all a little bit more about the work that they've been doing to bring joy and meaning to the lives of older adults in their communities, and specifically to hear a little bit more about how they've been able to use some of the friends and family resources that we've talked about today as part of their work. So I'd love to invite Nefeli and Lizzie to join me on screen now. And as they're doing so, I'm going to give both of them a brief introduction. So Nefeli Andoniadis is a TimeSlips certified facilitator based in Washington, D.C., where she is a teaching artist with the Phillips Collection. She also recently completed a master's in aging and health at Georgetown University and is a theater artist and professor of theater arts. And funny story, I was telling the team this recently, Nefeli once costumed me in a production as a baby bird. I was trying to find a photograph of that recently, Nefeli, to share with the team, and I didn't find one. So if you have any, let me know. Also joining us is Lizzie Ruppel, who is a student at the University of Michigan and the Director of Community Engagement at Perfect Pair, which is a wonderful program that creates one-on-one connections between seniors and college students. So Lizzie and Nefeli, I'd love to just invite you now each to share a little bit more about the work that you do. I know, Nefeli, you've been doing some great work recently, leading some engagement parties with folks in DC. And Lizzie, we're really excited for folks to hear a little bit more about Perfect Pair as well. Nefeli, do you want to maybe kick us off? And I'm also going to get rid of my presentation for a moment so we can see you on screen a little bit bigger. And yeah, would love to hear more from you.
Great, thank you, Andrew. Yeah, thanks so much for that introduction. I was thinking back to my initial introduction to TimeSlips. I was certified as a facilitator a few years ago. I don't remember how many, but before the new website, before the new membership program was created, but I did get to go through that process. And I have been practicing leading TimeSlips sessions since before the pandemic. And so I was doing that at an adult day center here. And I guess what I just want to say about that is that the staff at that center had actually been through a training program some years back. It had been introduced to the whole staff, but somehow or other it had fallen off of the menu of sort of the activity that was offered regularly. And because I think of my curiosity and my interest, we sort of brought it back. And in the practice of it, interest grew, so not only did my experience with it grow, and but the enjoyment just deepened, honestly. And it just felt like we were relighting that fire, reigniting that interest as a regular practice. And then during the lockdown period of our pandemic, we figured out how to kind of transition to Zoom sessions. And so we were co-leading sessions through Zoom. And then since this past summer, as we've been sort of vaccinated and moving back into COVID safe spaces, I continue to lead sessions, and the day center actually has 2 different locations, which brings me to the engagement party. The interest continued to grow as we were back in person, and staff, I was always inviting staff to join us and to be part of the circle and part of the creative story making. Staff sometimes had other things to do. Staff sometimes felt a little uncomfortable or unsure about how to enter into this kind of very joyful, often really fun and funny creative process. But that invitation was always open. And I think this past fall, especially, there was something about the energy about being in the room together again that I just felt like that interest was peaking. And I had more and more staff wanting to participate, wanting to know how to extend it into their practice and sharing these anecdotes with me. So that, coupled with my interest in this aging and health program that I've completed, brought me to the place where I was able to lead a kind of introduction to TimeSlips for the staff of both locations. So we had a significant group of people deeply experienced in caring for older adults with memory loss and with dementia. And so I used the engagement party tools and resources that Andrew just shared. And within about an hour, I think I actually had to do it in 50 minutes because they had all kinds of other trainings they were going to do on that day. My goal was really to give them a chance to practice with each other and get over a little bit of the initial anxiety I think that people sometimes feel about being leaders. It was also to help shift the thinking from what TimeSlips, I think people understood it as kind of an activity that Nefeli leads on a certain 10:30, 10:30 on certain days. That they enjoy, but to help them sort of begin to understand how that infuses everything that happens at the center, how that might support their conversations and the moments in which they're working with folks throughout the days and throughout the weeks, and also potentially to inspire them to think about expanding the program and how we can go deeper and how we can expand what TimeSlips can be at the center. And I will just reflect back one more thing, I guess, which is that one of the staff takeaways, I was actually at the center yesterday and was talking with the program director who was just sharing back, one of the big takeaways for her that she felt and that I think other staff felt as well was the value of one of the sort of tools or principles, which is to show proof of listening. And so both in opening up beautiful questions or opening up a conversation with no right answers and no wrong answers, the practice of listening and demonstrating that proof of listening, even for experienced caregivers, turned out to be sort of a new concept to hold on to, that I think made a big difference. So it was in fact really fun. There was a lot of laughter in the session. And so that was my opportunity to share that. I will go on to just say one more thing. I'm sure we have limited time, but through my program, I also have been asked by one of my professors to lead a TimeSlips session with medical students at the university. And so I intend to, sorry, there's a fire engine going by. So I'm excited for that. That'll happen in May. And I think we'll have a little bit more time, but to again open that up and share the strategies and the approach and the perspectives of TimeSlips with medical students is pretty exciting. So I'm looking forward to that as another way to apply the practice.
Thank you so much, Nefeli. I just want to add to that. I think when I've used the engagement party resources myself, we designed these again, I think primarily for family caregivers and families in mind. But when I've done them in kind of more professional settings, it's been a good reminder for me too of how professional folks need creative engagement in their lives as well. And the kind of joy and laughter that often will come out of those sessions is a wonderful gift for them as well. And it has that benefit of providing them with a little bit more information how they can use the techniques for others. I'll add too that I've, oh, go ahead, Nefeli.
No, go ahead. I was going to add one more.
I was just going to say too, I've just before we were developing the resources and pre-COVID, I was able to attend a couple of engagement parties at people's homes in the Detroit area. And I'm really excited about, or optimistic that as, numbers decline and more people get vaccinated and there's more kind of in-person gatherings, that we'll start to see more people in our network having engagement parties at home, because it was really lovely to kind of gather with people in their home. I took a plate of food home with me because the hosts are very generous, and that's the kind of sort of vision we had for the engagement parties when we first created them. So it's great to hear them being used in a variety of contexts, but we hope people will continue to use them in whatever ways that they want. Ophelia, you wanted to say one more thing?
Yeah, I was just going to add to that. The framing of the party was delightful. It was part of a sort of a series of training sessions they went on to do, but it was the first one. There was breakfast, there was coffee, and it was absolutely a kind of a gathering, celebratory gathering feeling. And I guess the other thing I was going to mention is similar, I think, to the idea of sharing it with a family or within somebody's home or in a neighborhood or a park. Is it happened to be a complete cross section of staff, and so people at all different parts of the organization. So including the social workers and the program coordinators and the direct care staff and the CNAs and the people who were in charge of transportation and in charge of nutrition and serving lunch, et cetera. So that was also a real delight. And in the context of engaging in a creative conversation, a sort of a leveling, like it was just really interesting to observe how people interacted differently when they were around a table working together to create a story in the part where they practiced without those traditional roles. So it just thinking about family and structure and relationships. I thought that was really sweet.
Thank you, Nefeli. Well, I'd love to invite you to kind of hang out with us a little bit longer. We'll have some time for questions and answers later. So if any folks have questions for Nefeli, they'll be with us for the rest of the time together. But now I want to invite Lizzie to kind of join and tell us a little bit more about Perfect Pair and the great work you've been doing using our imagination kits.
Yeah, absolutely. So hi, everyone. Thank you so much for that introduction, Andrew. Great to hear from you, Nefeli. So as mentioned, my name is Lizzie, and I'm currently a college student at the University of Michigan, and I'm also the Director of Community Engagement for Perfect Pair. And I'm really excited to be here and speak about the Creative Care Imagination Kits, which are truly wonderful resources for our program. So first, a little introduction as to what Perfect Pair is. So Perfect Pair is a nonprofit that started out of the University of Michigan. And it aims to create personalized one-on-one connections between seniors and college students. So through our program, student volunteers from universities are matched with senior participants personally through a matching system based on similar hobbies and or interests. And the program really seeks to foster meaningful connections and those long-lasting intergenerational relationships, which is something that is really unique. And as a volunteer, I can speak really highly of. And what's particularly special about Perfect Pair is that we also include programming activities for our pairs. So essentially, we offer an activity catalog that pairs can check out various activities to help establish their relationship. So some of these activities include things like canvas painting, pottery, reading books, playing chess, watching movies, etc. There's a lot of different variety. And we also have a catalog that is strictly dedicated to our memory care pairs for those residents with any cognitive related challenges. So this is exactly where TimeSlips Creative Care Imagination Kits fits pretty seamlessly into our program. So as an activity offered in our memory care catalog, pairs have the ability to check out or rent the Creative Care Imagination Kits. And so these kits have really allowed matches to spark meaningful conversations and lead to important conversations to learn more about each other and have sort of used their imagination to bond over something new. And so I recently spoke to one of our pairs who actually used the kits last week. And the things that she reflected on is that she really especially loved that the beautiful questions on the cards had a large range of topics. So if the pair didn't like one or didn't have much to say, it was easy to move on to the next one. And she said the same for the story prompt cards. There was such a large range of people, animals, etc. And that her and her pair had a really fun time trying to guess what was happening in each picture. and use their imagination to spark new conversations and have a new bond over something. And what she said was particularly special was that the cards made it really easy for them to bring up certain things that they never had the chance to talk about, even though that they've been meeting for almost about a year now. And so I can really foresee these kits being really fruitful for our program and being used frequently for our matches. We have 5 chapters nationally now, and we're really growing quickly. And so we're excited to have these resources. And I think the mission of TimeSlips absolutely aligns with that of Perfect Pair. And so we're really grateful to have this partnership. And I think a lot of pairs will enjoy these kits in the future.
Thanks so much, Lizzie. Just want to join on screen real quick. I wanted to let folks know too that we were able to provide Lizzie and her colleagues at Perfect Pair with a few copies of the kit free of charge, thanks to funding from the Ralph C. Wilson Jr. Foundation. And I know we have a small group joining us today, so if anyone is interested in perhaps getting a copy of the kit to sort of test out in your own work, let us know. We still have a few available that we can easily put in the post. And I wanted to say thanks again to the Wilson Foundation for helping us both create the kit and also get many of these out there into the community now. I was particularly excited to have you join us, Lizzie, to talk about the intergenerational aspect of the kit, because that's something that when we were developing it was definitely something we kept in mind. And so going back to the sort of human-centered design process that we used when creating the kit, one of the best pieces of feedback we got in the creation of the kit was actually to not include anything about dementia or memory loss, like in the cover. And when that was brought up in a focus group, we sort of asked, like, can you say a little bit more about that? And the caregiver spoke very frankly about how quite often that will be a little bit of a kind of turnoff for them if they see something with those words. It triggers a lot for them, and they don't want to sort of pick up that book or that article because so much of their daily life, is eclipsed by all of that. So we were very sort of intentional about kind of talking about the history and the development of the kit and TimeSlips sort of origins in this world, but also wanting to create the kit in a way that it could be used in so many different contexts. So it doesn't have to be used just with intergenerational kind of older younger adult relationships. I use the kit a lot in my work with young people and find that the images can be great to imagine stories and imagine little plays together. I've heard from folks that are parents of teenagers and sort of struggle, don't have, kids of my own, but hear that, trying to engage a teenager in a conversation can often result in very, short monosyllabic responses. And they've talked about actually using beautiful questions and elements of the kit and types of resources as a way to have much deeper, more meaningful conversations with their children. So again, the kit can be used in many different ways. We're really excited to hear how Lizzie and the folks at Perfect Pair are using it, and really excited to hear more about what you learn from using kits in the future. So we still have plenty of time, and I'm gonna let any folks that have questions now for myself or Lizzie or Nefeli about anything that they talked about. Any questions about the resources, we have plenty of time. We would still love to hear from you. So Kathy, I don't know if any questions kind of came in while we were talking, or if anyone else has questions now.
We didn't have any questions yet, but we would love it if you have any questions whatsoever to feel free to put them in the chat. Andrew, I was wondering if people wanted to do a bulk order. I know you had mentioned that. I thought maybe you could talk a little bit about that in case people were wondering.
Yeah, so we have, we're really fortunate to work with a supplier called BookPal. That if anybody is interested in doing a bulk order, we can kind of make that introduction to their customer service department. And then I don't remember off the top of my head, but I know that for certain sort of numbers, there are significant discounts, and essentially it goes the more kits you want, the more discounts you get. And they're pretty good discounts, so that I know for large organizations that might want kits to sort of send out to different locations of assisted living facilities or memory care communities, that could be a great option. So it's a simple case of reach out to us if that's something you're interested in, and then we can make that introduction to BookPal, and the sort of transaction goes entirely through them. We just kind of make that introduction, but we're very thankful to be working with them to get those kits out. They can ship them anywhere in the United States and Canada very quickly, and they can also do international shipments as well. So that changes the price a little bit more. But yeah, let us know if that's of interest to you. We can share more information. David, yes, I see your question about the journal and the kits checked out by the pair. Does the journal get used and does it go out again for another checkout? I know that you are joining us from the Milwaukee Public Library. Actually, something that we're sort of having conversations with other kind of library professionals is how the kit might work as a sort of being kind of checked out in that regard. That's one aspect of the kind of process of creating the kit that we're kind of learning from the field now, but because the instructions and tips are in the journal together, that if the journal maybe like goes missing when somebody checks it out, like we lose that. So we've actually created a separate kind of PDF document that has the instructions and tips that some libraries are using now when they check the kits out. I think we're still kind of hearing from the field kind of what the impact will be there. My hope though is that if the journal does kind of come back, it's a resource that maybe people are using at different points in different places. I think it might be quite nice to pick up the journal and find a story written by somebody else, a complete stranger, kind of read, the story that they created. So the answer to your question is kind of we don't quite know yet, but we're excited to learn and hear from the field about what's happening, and also kind of work with specific folks like librarians to figure out other ways that we could or the resources we could maybe create to help the kits be a little bit more kind of long lasting in your work. And Kathy, you had a question from someone in your email. Are the kits small enough to take on a plane? Can they be tucked into carry-on when visiting family? Yeah, they. I don't have one actually right next to me right now, but they're about the size of like a book, and certainly something I think you could squeeze into your carry-on without taking up too much room. And they were really actually designed for that purpose. They were designed to kind of go with you where you need them, recognizing that family members may use them on. I feel like I'll get to your question in a second. On maybe like long car rides, and if there's a way to kind of to engage people and keep them engaged in conversation. Having a question, maybe not if you're the person driving, right? But be able to ask someone a question in the car ride could be a great way to use it. Thinking of people maybe taking a family member to an appointment and maybe like waiting in a doctor's waiting room for a long time, and maybe that might cause a little bit of stress and anxiety. The kits could be a great resource to kind of use in those moments as well. I think it's a dream that every medical center's kind of waiting room would have a kit available so that anybody waiting could use it, right? And yeah, it's really was designed to go with you wherever you need it. So if that's at the bedside, in the car, in the waiting room, wherever. I know too with the nice thing about the cards, the image prompts and the beautiful question cards is you can kind of take those out even if you don't want to take the whole kit. Just have a few kind of at hand. We've heard from a few people that are doing that. And Nefeli, yes, we have thought about. So Nefeli's question for anyone who hasn't seen it. Have we thought about creating imagination kits in partnerships with museums and galleries where their collections could be featured in the kit as a way to connect with museum works in a creative way? Absolutely. You're reading our mind. We've definitely thought about if there are kind of future versions of the kits. We've thought that could be a really great way to kind of partner with museums or other art galleries, and maybe the kit maybe using some of their content and pieces as creative prompts. And we also figured too, like, wouldn't it be great if the imagination kit could be in the museum gift shop? Like that would be a great place to reach new people. So that's definitely one of the dreams for the kits. And it's actually really great to hear, since the kit has only been out not even a year. It was released in June last year. Already kind of starting to hear from the field kind of interest in kind of future versions of the kit, or maybe even sort of expansion packs that could add new image prompts and new beautiful questions. So it is definitely on our mind, and it's good to hear others that think in the same way. So. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I know again, any other questions that you have for either myself, Lizzie, or Nefeli? If not, just want to thank everyone for joining us today, and I hope that what we've shared was helpful, and particularly hearing from Nefeli and Lizzie. I think it's always really great to hear from others outside of the TimeSlips staff, right, about our resources. So thank you so much for both of you for being great supporters and advocates of our work, and we're really pleased to hear that you found a way to use our resources. And just wanted to let you know that if you are interested in kind of learning more about TimeSlips, we do have regular kind of webinars and events happening throughout the year. Our next webinar will be towards the end of May. It'll be a Ask Me Anything style webinar conversation with our founder and lead creative strategist, Anne Basting. This is a webinar that is for only folks that have that kind of all access membership. So if that is something that you're interested in, again, this is kind of one of the perks of that membership level is that you get sort of special invitations to certain webinars like this one. So if that's something you're interested in attending or would like to learn a bit more about that membership level, again, you can send us a quick email at info@timeslips.org and we will happily share with you that more information. And again, you can reach out to us at any time at that same email address with any questions about TimeSlips, the resources that we shared today. And of course, you can learn more at our website, www.timeslips.org. So thank you so much for joining us today. I hope that you are leaving with something new, some new inspiration. I know hearing from Nefeli and Lizzie is always great for me to be reminded of the impact that our work is having. And it's really, personally, really satisfying hearing that the resources that we spent a long time developing and sort of testing are now impacting others outside of Southeast Michigan. So thank you so much. Thank you everyone for joining us, and we hope to see you again at a future TimeSlips webinar. Have a great day.